What's going on, everyone? I hope you're enjoying your day, because I know I am, since I just got to mark another entry off of my long list of backlogs of games to play. And I'm pretty sure you can figure out which one it is from the title of the video. And just to have a Captain Obvious moment here, yes, I am talking about Metro Exodus. And this is going to be me giving my thoughts about the story, gameplay, and whatever else I can come up with to basically fill in this video. But most importantly, whether or not it was worth the wait for it to come to Steam, seeing that it left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths with how they abandoned their original plans for the Steam store. Anyways, if you just found this channel, welcome. I'm Verumbra, and I try to make as straightforward game reviews as possible and talk about other gaming topics. I mainly cover looter shooters and FPS games with a bit of MMO stuffed in between. And if that seems interesting to you, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the channel? And with that introduction out of the way, let me go ahead and jump into what you came here for. Enjoy the show. Okay, I'm going to start with the story, and I'm going to have to kinda assume that a lot of the people that are going to be clicking on this video aren't fans of the Metro series. So a little bit of a setup. You basically play in Russia after a nuclear winter, or actually during a nuclear winter, ironically. And one thing leads to the other, and you are forced out of Moscow. The two previous games don't have that much bearing on the story being told in Exodus. They're two separate stories, so you don't have to worry about, oh, you're not going to understand. Just know that you might not have a lot of in-depth knowledge of how these people relate to each other, but I don't think it's that needed. The story of Exodus itself kind of takes you through a few different chapters corresponding around what time of year it is. And the story basically circles all the way back through to essentially winter. And that's the general overview of how far you get from the city. Again, I'm being kind of vague, and I don't want to go into it because it is a good story and is not worth spoiling. But I will say this, there are a few times that the story just, you know, you're walking into a trap. But I'm also happy to say, even in those instances, you don't really expect what happens. I wouldn't say it subverts your expectations of what trap you walk into, but it was a nice surprise on what it was. One other thing, because this is a tip that I found out and I had to look up with this, is that in previous installments, it had a brutal morality system that determined whether or not you had a good ending or bad ending. In this installment, this is much more lax, in that to get the good ending, with no real spoilers or whatnot, all you gotta do is be able to get all of your people to stay with you. And you have to do certain quests and whatnot. I haven't really found killing the wrong people really to mess things up, or there are going to be certain objectives that you have to meet to actually get that good ending. But the story is actually quite superb as the final verdict for the story. So that brings me into what I want to say about the gameplay, customization, the combat, and whatnot, and how it ties into the story. Because how they really have it set up is that you're supposed to go out and explore as you complete certain parts of the story. And it really does help if you actually do this, because you unlock some customization for your guns that will make that part of the story a little bit easier. And because you don't have to worry about just sneaking around knocking everyone out, and you can actually get into firefights without messing up the story, the actual fights do get interesting. In fact, the best firefight that I got into was in the desert section of the game in one of the prison holds. And I botched the sneaky approach, but they didn't know exactly where I was, so it turned into this big merry-go-round of hide and seek, but with guns. And it was the most fun I had in it. In fact, the most fun I've had in an FPS shooter in a while, since my type of gameplay is kind of Tom Clancy with less knocking people out and just rather just shooting them. Needless to say, it gets high remarks for its post-apocalyptic gameplay. Now, if I were to move on to the customizations, you know, I gotta say I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would, and I actually thought I would actually enjoy it. And so how the customization slash crafting works in this game is that you of course collect two main resources, basically chemical components and scrap, and you use this to anything from clean weapons, make essentially health restores, filters for your gas mask, all the essentials. You get different gun parts from weapons that you find that have those parts, and you keep them throughout the mission. Now, you can give up those mods for some odd reason. I don't know why they left that in there, but I guess player choice to leave that behind. But once you get back and finish the mission, it goes into this big stash that in the start of the next mission, you can choose what you can take. Now, I do wish once you beat the game and whatnot, or once you beat the level, or that I just kind of wish that there was a new game plus that allowed me to play with all the collected mods for different weapons once I beat the game, because I think it would have been a lot more fun for replayability to be able to tackle the game with those mods earlier, or with certain weapons that you can only get much later in the game. And that's my biggest issue with the customization, but otherwise it's actually fantastic. So again, 2 high marks for those 2 areas, but there's still just little nitpicks that really every single game has, and it really has to do with kind of mismatch like hitboxes, but that's neither here nor there. Every game has it, like I said. That really now does kind of leave the problems I found with the game. A lot of this seems to revolve around trying to use RTX features. I haven't been able to run the game without using safe mode for basically as long that I've been playing it. Now, I'm playing this on the Microsoft Game Pass, so I don't know if it's an issue with this platform that I'm playing it on, or if it's issues with just the game. And to list some of these issues that I found, at least the major ones, the first one is this black sky bug that I found. I looked it up. It sounds similar to something that was happening around October-ish last year, but this is in December, and they said they fixed it. So that's also why I don't know if it's just this platform or not. Other issues are just random crashes that I was having, or sometimes, not that often, but sometimes, the enemies would just disappear for no reason. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I could have gotten clips of it, but that leads into my final big issue with the game, is that this game uses a lot of CPU. So much so that trying to record this game on one machine was a nightmare. So I was only able to get one of the bugs recorded, and that was only by luck. Will these issues still be a thing whenever it gets released onto Steam? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be generous in saying that it's just the platform not updating as they should be for patches from the developers. As long as I've had it installed on my computer, because I've had it installed for a while and I never got a chance to play it until recently, and there was never any type of update queued up for it whatsoever. Yeah, these glitches do take away graphically, but with a benefit of a doubt, the game is beautiful nonetheless. And with that, I'm going to give the game a 4 out of 5 for its total score. Now, here comes the important part. Should you get Metro Exodus whenever it comes out on Steam? Or to rephrase that, to match what I'll probably name the video after, was it worth the wait? Well, I could spend a good 20 minutes talking about how you should never touch anything that ever gets a Epic Store exclusive. But I don't like having my emotions dictate what I want to say, or the things that I do. I recognize that emotions are important and can be very helpful, but I don't think it's going to be helpful for me to just tell you that, well, no, you shouldn't get this game because it was Epic Store exclusive. No, it's not going to help. So here's what I'm going to do. I will list out what I think would make this a good buy for having waited this long. If you find these things to be true for you, then I'd say go ahead and pick it up. If not, there are far better things you can spend your cash on. Better games that are going to be coming out very soon and even throughout the year. So here we go. The first one, and I think the most important, is are you a big fan of the Metro series? Because if so, then yeah, this game is worth the wait. In fact, I applaud you for waiting this long. Now, if you like post-apocalyptic survivalist games, then yeah, also go ahead and pick this game up because it's a really good game of this genre. And the final condition, so to speak, is if you're not really planning on picking up many other games, which I can't see this happening. Anyways, guys, if you found this useful, entertaining, intriguing, or whatever, consider subscribing and hitting that bell because I should have more reviews up and possibly some game guides. And speaking of that stuff, let me know down in the comment section what games you would like me to cover. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.